In the mountains of Japan, a 92-year-old woman wakes before dawn, moves through 6 simple patterns her grandmother taught her, and at noon, she's planting rice in fields that would exhaust someone half her age. No gym membership, no special equipment, just movement that somehow rewrites what we thought aging had to be. The 6 movements that Japanese elders weave through their days possess a deceptive simplicity that masks their profound biological effects. Deep squatting, the kind where hips sink below knees and heels press into earth. Floor-sitting transitions, moving from standing to cross-legged or kneeling positions and back again. Forward folding at the hips, letting gravity draw the torso toward the legs. Spinal rotation, the gentle twisting that happens when reaching across the body or turning to look behind. Heel-to-floor calf lengthening, maintaining the ankle mobility that connects foot to ground with full contact. Hip opening, leg positioning, whether in cross-legged sitting or the wide stance of tending low gardens. These aren't exercises in the way we've come to understand them, isolated and performed in sets, but patterns embedded so deeply into daily routine that they become invisible, yet their cellular effects are anything but subtle. Inside every cell of your body exists tiny structures called mitochondria, often described as powerhouses because they convert nutrients into the energy molecule ATP that fuels everything from heartbeat to thought. After age 50, mitochondrial function begins to decline in most populations. Fewer mitochondria per cell, less efficient energy production, more oxidative stress as these ancient bacterial descendants struggle with their fundamental task. This decline manifests as the fatigue so many accept as inevitable with aging. The sense that the same activities that once felt effortless now demand conscious effort and recovery. Yet mitochondria are remarkably responsive to the right kind of stimulus, not necessarily intense exercise that can overwhelm aging cells' repair mechanisms, but sustained, moderate activity that signals ongoing need without triggering excessive inflammation. When an elder moves through these 6 patterns multiple times daily, their muscle cells receive a consistent message that energy production remains essential. When we watch a Japanese elder lower themselves to the floor to share tea, then rise again with seemingly effortless grace, we're witnessing something far more profound than simple flexibility or strength. We're observing a daily neurological training session that most of us abandoned somewhere around the age of 5, when chairs became our constant companions and the ground became a place we visited only in emergencies or recreation. The human nervous system contains specialized receptors, called mechanoreceptors, embedded throughout our muscles, tendons, and joints, constantly feeding information to the brain about where our body exists in 3-dimensional space. This sense, proprioception, functions as an internal GPS system, and like any system that isn't regularly challenged, it atrophies with disuse. After 50, this atrophy accelerates, which explains why falls become increasingly common and why many older adults develop what researchers call spatial uncertainty, a kind of fog between intention and execution where the brain's map of the body no longer matches the body's actual capabilities. The Japanese practice of moving to and from the floor multiple times throughout the day creates a uniquely comprehensive challenge for this proprioceptive system. Unlike walking, which follows a predictable rhythm on a stable plane, lowering oneself to sit cross-legged or kneeling requires the brain to coordinate an asymmetrical descent through varying levels of gravity's pull, adjusting muscle tension dynamically as the center of mass shifts downward. The vestibular system in the inner ear, responsible for detecting head position and movement, must recalibrate constantly during this transition, sending rapid-fire signals to the cerebellum to prevent loss of balance. Rising back up reverses this cascade, but adds another layer, as pushing against the ground recruits muscle fibers in sequences that rarely activate during modern daily life. The deep squat, a position where the hips sink below the knees while the heels remain planted firmly on the ground, represents something we've nearly lost in the Western world, but that Japanese elders maintain as naturally as breathing. When an 80-year-old woman squats to tend her vegetable garden or sits in this position while preparing food, her body is engaged in a form of biological communication that modern science is only beginning to understand. Inside every joint exists a remarkable substance called synovial fluid, a viscous liquid that lubricates cartilage surfaces and nourishes the tissue through a process that has no blood supply of its own. This fluid doesn't simply exist passively, waiting to cushion our movements. it must be actively produced and circulated, and the stimulus for this production is movement itself, specifically the kind of compression and decompression that occurs when joints move through their full available range. When we hold a deep squat, the hip joint experiences profound compression, squeezing fluid out of the cartilage like wringing water from a sponge. Upon release, fresh nutrient-rich fluid flows back in, bringing oxygen and glucose while removing metabolic waste products. This pumping action, repeated daily, keeps cartilage healthy and responsive. Equally important is what happens to the fascial tissue, that web-like connective tissue that wraps every muscle fiber and links distant parts of the body in continuous lines of tension. Fascia contains specialized cells called fibroblasts that respond directly to mechanical stretch by producing collagen and maintaining the tissue's hydrated, supple quality. Without regular stretching into positions like deep squats or forward folds, fascia gradually dehydrates and stiffens, creating the sensation of tightness that so many associate with aging. The gentle spinal twists that Japanese elders perform while reaching for objects or turning to speak with someone behind them create spiral patterns of fascial tension that maintain rotational mobility in the thoracic spine, an area that in sedentary populations often becomes rigid and compressed. There exists within every human body an ancient tension between two branches of the nervous system, one designed to mobilize us for action and survival, the other to restore and repair. The sympathetic nervous system, our accelerator, prepares us for the demands of the world, while the parasympathetic system, our brake, returns us to a state of rest and regeneration. In modern life, particularly after 50 when stress hormones begin to have more pronounced effects on tissue breakdown, many of us live with the accelerator pressed too firmly to the floor, cortisol streaming through our bloodstreams even during moments meant for rest. The Japanese elders practicing these 6 movements have discovered something profound, perhaps without ever naming it in scientific terms. When breath and movement synchronize, the body receives an unmistakable signal to shift from mobilization to restoration. Watch someone fold forward slowly, hinging at the hips to reach toward the ground, and notice how the exhale naturally accompanies the descent. This isn't coincidental but deeply encoded in our physiology. The vagus nerve, the primary pathway of parasympathetic communication, has branches that weave through the diaphragm and respond directly to the mechanical stretch of a full exhalation. When an elder pairs a gentle spinal twist with a slow, complete outbreath, they're essentially massaging this nerve, triggering a cascade of calming signals that lower heart rate, reduce blood pressure, and most critically, decrease the production of stress hormones that accelerate muscle wasting and bone density loss. The forward fold combined with conscious breathing creates a similar effect, as the compression of the abdomen during exhalation stimulates pressure receptors that communicate directly with brain regions controlling the stress response. This isn't meditation separate from movement or exercise separate from breath, but an integration that treats the body as an interconnected whole. Each rotation paired with exhalation, each squat deepened on the outbreath, becomes a reset button for a nervous system that otherwise remains locked in patterns of tension. The gymnasium represents a particular philosophy of human improvement, one where we isolate variables, target specific muscle groups, and create intense periods of stress, followed by extended recovery. We go to the gym, work hard for an hour, then return to chairs and cars and couches for the remaining 23 hours of our day. This model, borrowed from athletic training, where the goal is peak performance, may be fundamentally mismatched with the needs of aging physiology. The body after 50 responds differently to stress than it did at 20. Recovery takes longer, inflammation lingers, and the sharp peaks of intense exercise can sometimes trigger more breakdown than building up. What Japanese elders practice instead is something researchers now call hormesis, a biological principle where small, frequent doses of stress stimulate adaptive responses without overwhelming the system's capacity to recover. When an elder squats to pick vegetables, holds that position while examining the soil, then stands and walks to another patch of garden, they're delivering a gentle challenge to their muscles and joints. An hour later, squatting again to prepare tea, another small stimulus arrives. By evening, perhaps a dozen of these brief challenges have accumulated, none of them intense enough to require days of recovery, but each one signaling to cells that strength and mobility remain necessary. The mitochondria inside muscle cells respond to this pattern differently than they do to a single intense workout. Rather than ramping up for dramatic energy production once or twice weekly, they maintain a steady state of readiness, producing energy efficiently throughout each day. The muscle fibers don't experience the microtrauma that requires extensive repair, but instead maintain their contractile proteins through constant, gentle use. This ecological approach to movement treats exercise not as something separate from life, but as life itself, where every action becomes an opportunity for the body to remember its capabilities, where the accumulated minutes of squatting, bending, twisting, and balancing throughout the day create an architecture of health.